Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Darnell, this morning Dave Tippett was asked about Connor McDavid and that he seems to be engaging more physically this year, and he was referencing the Neil Pionk situation last game. Do you see that in Connor, that he's engaged a little bit more physically, throwing checks and taking checks and stuff like that?
Yeah, obviously he's a guy that gets his fair share of bumps and bruises, so I feel like if you've been taking that for long enough, you're going to want to dish it back a little bit. I mean, he's also dug in a lot in the D zone and playing hard defensively, and that kind of comes along with it. So it's good to see him mixing up a little bit.
And the fight you had with Lowry, did that surprise you? It didn't seem like you did very much to Perreault.
No, he's a big guy, just in the way going back to the bench. So it was good.
Bob Stauffer, 630 Ched.
Darnell, there's so much focus, obviously, Connor and Leon. Where's the secondary offense going to come from? Right now, your defense crew is the highest scoring defense in the National Hockey League. How has the addition of Tyson and now Evan getting in the lineup maybe changed the dynamic of what your group can do in terms of the transition game and assisting and creating offense?
Yeah, obviously, you just named two guys that make a huge impact so far this season, and transporting the puck, getting pucks to the net from the point, just kind of creating a whole new offensive dynamic. And it's nice to see, obviously, we rely heavily on our top two lines to score a lot of goals and keep us in games, but for us on the back end to be able to contribute, it's big, and it needs to continue to happen.
Thank you.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
Dave Tippett just referenced he wants to see a better job done of not allowing free and open tips in front of the net, right? Guys that are standing there tipping pucks and they're, basically unfettered. So take us into the technique a little. You're standing next to a big guy like a Lowry or a Wheeler, and the shot's coming from the point. I know it's not the old days where you could just cross-check everybody all the time. How do you stop that guy? How do you impede him from cleanly tipping that puck, Darnell?
You could cross-check him a little bit still. I still let you get away with a little bit. But it's just finding sticks. Like it's hard, yeah, but it's as simple as that. You know when pucks are coming from the point. If they get through clean, almost 90% of the time our goalie's going to take care of it. So for us, that's got to be important, especially nowadays you're either blocking shots. Guys are either blocking shots or they're in the lane. So there's so many bodies in front of the net and in front of the goalie, so it's hard for them to pick up pucks coming in from the point. So for us, it's important to find those sticks and just get under them. A light tap on the stick can actually go a long way when trying to take away a guy's tipping option. So we definitely have to be better in that department, especially when there's times they're tipping pucks and we're standing beside guys. So we got to be better in that department.
So when a guy like Neil Pionk does manage to get, he was pretty effective with McDavid the other day. He engaged your best player, and there was a lot of physicality back and forth. Do you guys just have to kind of monitor that? Is it, what if he goes too far? What's the next step for your team? Like taking care of him, or going after their best players, or what's the options?
That's not a question I'll answer.
Kelly Moore, CJOB.
Hey, Darnell. We were talking a lot about the Pionk and McDavid matchup because it was so compelling, but I don't think we should also lose focus on you and Mark Scheifele. That's a pretty good battle going on out there as well. I'm guessing that you thrive, and that's why you play the game to match up against those kind of guys.
Yeah, I think that's whenever you're able to play against some of the top players in the league, that's kind of what gets you going. Obviously, Scheif has been a really, really good player in this league for quite a while now, and that line drives a lot of offense for their team and drives a lot of the play for their team. So as a D-man, to be able to be matched up against them and kind of take that assignment head on, it's fun. It's a fun assignment to be a part of, and you want to keep them, especially 5-on-5. You want to keep them to the outside and off the board as much as possible, because they're very dangerous on the power play too. So it's a fun matchup to be a part of, and ones that I definitely look forward to when you get the opportunity to play against them.
Stoff mentioned that you guys, your defensive unit, are providing more offense than any other in the National Hockey League. But I'm kind of curious where you sit on the side of, wide open, old 80s style hockey like we saw Monday night, or something closer to how you played in Montreal the game before.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more on the side of the way we played in Montreal than the wide open 80s style, to be honest. But when you give up, you can't be giving up 5-6 goals, even 4 as often as we have been, and that comes from our defensive details, and we know we need to clean those up and to get back to kind of that hard to play against and good defending team, because we know we have the offense in here to take care of those low scoring games. But you can only open it up so much. So I definitely prefer the game we had against Montreal.
Rob Tuchkowski, Post Media.
Hey, Darnell. When Tyson Berry first got here, he was a little slow out of the gate, offensively at least, and then in the last little stretch here, he's really got it going. What sort of change did you notice in his game, or was it just a sense of, or a matter of him just getting comfortable in a new environment, which sometimes takes a little bit of time?
Yeah, I think he's just getting comfortable in the environment, knowing the guys, knowing the way guys play. The more familiar you get with your teammates, especially coming in from a different organization, and in the condensed schedule we had, obviously, usually you come in and you have 4 or 5 exhibition games to play with guys. See the little nuances of the game within the team, and he didn't have the opportunity. And so the beginning of the year probably was a little bit of a feeling out process, and having some consistency here the last few weeks of playing with the same partners and same lines, that always helps guys. And once they get into a groove, it's been fun to see him step into his own. And he's so creative with the puck, and we're very lucky to have him.
The two of you guys mesh really well together. What is it about your styles, and is this a case where you kind of make each other better?
Yeah, I think we just we've been reading off each other better and better as the games have come. That comes with time. Like I said, we didn't have time to iron out those wrinkles in the preseason or even play together early on in the season. But having played together now the last few weeks, it feels like each and every game we get more and more familiar with each other. And when you get to that point, you can really play off each other's strengths. And I feel like we have a lot that we can play off each other.
Paul Gazzola, Oilers.com.
Hey Darnell, just as a close friend and teammate of Connor's, what's it like to see him go for .500 tonight? And do you have a favorite highlight of his over his career?
Obviously, it's exciting. I'm not going to talk too much about .500 because I know he wouldn't, so I'll stay away from it. But favorite highlight, I think, when he came back from was it the collarbone injury in Columbus. Playing against Columbus at home, I got front row seat because I was skating up the right side to watch him go through the 2D and then dance the goalie. So that's probably my favorite highlight.
Thank you. This concludes Darnell Nurse's media availability.
And there was Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse. A great question at the end by our very own Paul Gazzola. That goal was definitely memorable. But speaking of memorable, the first matchup this week between the Oilers and Jets, 11 goals scored between the two clubs. Both of these clubs have already combined for 28 goals in just their first 3 matchups. The Jets right now currently leading the season series. So we had Darnell Nurse in a few moments ago. Now let's jump to the Oilers Hall of Fame room with forward Tyler Ennis as he's at the podium.
Derek Van Diest, Post Media.
Hey Tyler, I just want to ask you about that line. It looks like you guys have found some really good combination. What is it about the three of you that has that chemistry?
Yeah, JJ and Archie have been fun to play with. I think, it's three veteran guys that, kind of are on the same page, are reading off each other really well and keeping it simple and really just, having the mindset to outwork the other line and compete first.
And when you have guys on the taxi squad that are fighting to get into the lineup and you have those extra guys that are fighting to get in the lineup, how competitive does it make a spot in the lineup now for guys in the bottom six?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good players in this team, guys that, like you said, are on the taxi squad, in and out of the lineup. There's a lot of depth, so healthy competition's always good. It's important that everybody works hard every single day, whether, you're in the lineup or you're on the taxi squad.
Rob Tychkowski, Post Media.
What is it about the Jets and Oilers when they get together? It's always a pretty entertaining back and forth high-scoring game. And are you guys okay with that? Are you content to play 6-5 again today, or do you want to do some things different?
Yeah, I don't think you want to give up 6 ever, so it's going to be important that we focus more on tightening it up a little bit. The Jets are a really good team. They play well, structured. They're a big physical team with some skill. So, hopefully, we can tighten it up a bit tonight, but it's a big game for us.
Yeah, you talk about big game. People are already looking at the standings 15 games into the season. Do you guys already have a sense of that we're fighting for second or third place, or got to watch Calgary coming up from behind on us?
Yeah, it's tight. It's going to be tight the whole way through. We knew that at the start, and it's no different right now. And tonight's a massive game.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Tyler, last game you played 9 shifts in the first 2 periods. You played 8 shifts in the third period. Is that just the way things go in a hockey game sometimes? You're feeling it, and the coach decides he's going to play you more as the game wears on?
Yeah, I think special teams is a big factor in that too. I'm feeling good out there. Like we talked about, our line has been playing as a cohesive unit and working hard and finding chemistry. But ice time is really dictated a lot on special teams.
And last game, it looked like Connor McDavid and Neil Pionk were kind of going at each other a few times. Have you seen the difference in Connor, and that he's more willing to engage in some of the physical stuff this year as opposed to just getting hooked and held? And I guess Sidney kind of does that in Pittsburgh too. He fights back too.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's one of the most competitive people I've ever met. So he's always got a target on his back because he's the best player in the world. So he's, like you said, he's playing competitive. He's playing hard. He's playing great. So he leads the way and we follow.
Thank you. This concludes Tyler Ennis media availability. There was Tyler Ennis, who has been seeing some success with JJ Akera and Josh Archibald on that line. Now, we did hear from head coach Dave Tippett this morning. We will have that interview for you in just a second, but just a quick recap. He did say that Mike Smith is getting the start, so he'll have an opportunity to bounce back after being pulled just over 22 minutes into Monday's hockey game, while Ethan Bear has also suffered another setback, so he will be out for tonight. As for Caleb Jones, that's still up for discussion, according to head coach Dave Tippett. He says there's a lot of players dealing with some injuries and bumps and bruises. and Jones will be a game-time decision depending on the availability of other defensemen. Now, it's the fourth of 9 meetings. The Jets currently lead the season series 2-1. Of course, we mentioned the 11 goals that we saw on Monday night. Now, the Oilers did have multi-goal outings from Alex Chason and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Nugent-Hopkins getting in the goal column for the first time in 6 games that night, while Alex Chason got his first 2 goals of the season. But it was Darnell Nurse saying, as great as the goals were, it's imperative that this team needs to tighten it up and see more of an effort that we saw on Saturday against the Montreal Canadiens when the Oilers came out victorious 3-0 from the Bell Center. Also, Connor McDavid looking for point number 500. If he gets a point tonight, you know, we've heard it all in the last 48 hours, he will tie Sidney Crosby for being the 8th fastest player in NHL history to get to point number 500. That would be in his 369th career game. Now, for my producer, Brock Food, I'm Tony Brar, as we leave you with Dave Tippett's media availability from earlier this morning.
Questions, please use the raise hand function. Start with Derek Van Diest, Post Media.
Hi, Dave.
Morning.
It looks like Mike Smith's in the starters net. Are you going back with him today?
Yeah, Mike Smith will play tonight.
Is that just a chance to just, get him back in there and let him find his groove again?
Yeah, we played 2 games well, and that's not so good the other night. We were looking for a change of momentum, and so we'll put him back in tonight. Hopefully, we get better results.
Rob Tuchkowski, Post Media.
Hi, Dave. Can you just maybe take us behind the thought process when you guys are sitting down and deciding who to start in net? Is it hunches? Is it numbers? What's the decision typically?
Flip a
based on?
coin. No, we've talked a lot about it. Koski's played a lot for us. We got to get Schmitty up and going here, and he's, like I say, his first 2 starts were really strong. Last one, we give up some quality chances that. We just wanted to change the momentum, so we'll throw them back in. We need to get them up, and we need to get both of them playing.
Jets and Oilers have had some pretty, wide open, entertaining games, which, a lot of people love and maybe some coaches don't care for as much. As coaches, are you guys telling your players to try and reel it in a little bit, or do you just go with the flow here and
No, you're always trying to make sure you're taking mistakes away, but sometimes the game, you get opportunities and players make great plays and they score goals. So, the other night we got down 4-1. We had to try to get ourselves back in the game. So there's some games it just seems like there's more mistakes than others. But ultimately there's mistakes that happen in the game all the time. It's how much you capitalize on them, and then that starts dictating somehow how the rest of the game goes.
Jim Matheson, Post Media.
Dave, Ethan Bear, he's not quite ready to play yet.
No, he's had a little setback here, so he's not available tonight.
And what about Caleb Jones? Will he play tonight?
He's up for discussion. We've got a couple of injury situations we're looking at, so he's in the discussion for tonight, but we haven't finalized anything yet.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
What about up front? A guy like Dominic Cahoon was replaced a little bit on that line. Does he get back on Draisaitl's side?
We'll see. We got a couple injury things up in front too that we're just tinkering with here that we'll decide after the morning skate.
There's a huge difference between the defensive effort you guys had against Montreal and a game against Winnipeg where you gave up a couple of free ones probably. How do you, is that just the character of the season that changes? How do you, I guess the easy question is, how do you play like you played in Montreal every night?
Well, if you look at the first period the other night, we played fairly well. I think we only gave up 2 or 3 chances the whole period, one on the power play or a couple on the power play. So we were fine in the first period. We made a couple mistakes that ended up in the back of our net quick, and you're down 4-1. So, you as much as you want to play good defense, you got to get yourself back in the game. So there's some things that you have to do to try to push your team to see if you can get a win. Now, we got ourselves back in the game, and then we ended up making a mistake again in the third that went in the back of the net. So each game is a different game. We got up in Montreal, and you just played real strong, and we were able to push that game along. But when you're down, still got to find a way to win. So each game is different. You're not trying to You know, that we don't go into one game thinking, oh, we're going to play an offensive game tonight, and now we got to play defensive. You're trying to do the right things all the time, but sometimes the game dictates how the mindset goes.
Jack Michaels, 630 Chad.
Dave, just one for you, and it's a bit of a follow-up on Specs. The other day, you played a game against Ottawa, and you kind of pointed out, hey, don't get caught up into the shot metrics. A lot of those were from long range.
Yeah.
What did you feel about the other night? Because if you looked at the box score and didn't see the game, you'd think Edmonton did most things right except win. What was your assessment?
No, I think we did enough things well to win that game, but ultimately we didn't win. You know, some of the chances we gave up were real good chances against, and those are the ones you want to take out of the game. You know, ultimately there's 2 goals there that are deflections from shots that get through from the point, but in both of those deflections, we got a guy standing right beside the guy that's deflecting the puck. Now, would you like to see better coverage there? A little more desperation to make sure the guy can't get a stick on it? Those are the ones that we can clean up. But sometimes you got to give the other team credit. They make good plays and they get chances, but the ones that you can take away by competing a little harder defensively, those are the ones that you can hopefully take out of the game. On the other side, we had some good chances we didn't capitalize on. That's the way the game goes sometimes.
Ryan Rashog, TSN.
Dave, Nugent Hopkins and McDavid have played a lot together the last little while. What do you like about that pairing, and why is seem like a good mix?
Well, they work off each other very well. I mean, it's the one thing that's missing is they haven't capitalized as much as you know. We chart a lot of the chances and stuff. They've got a lot more chances than or it seems like they should have more goals than they have, and that's probably more on Nuge's part. But they continue to generate chances. They you know, they make good plays. They read off each other well, and so that line's been a good line for us in generating. You'd like to see them. You know, I think time will come when they start to get rewarded more for what they're doing.
You've used McDavid and Draisaitl together coming off of penalty kills to get them both on the ice. Their results 5-on-5 on the ice together this year are pretty good. Is that something that I mean, it's obviously a tool you have at your disposal. Yeah. What's your philosophy on when to deploy that and you know, not to use it too much, or what's your thoughts?
There's just different points in the game where, depending on how the game's going, depending on TV timeouts, depending on a lot of things, that I can get them together. But ultimately, both of those guys can drive their own line. But when they are together, you can get a little push. Like, we got the power play goal the other night to get it to 4-2, and then we had a shift. I think it was after an icing or a shift after a TV commercial that we could put them both on in the offensive zone. We ended up getting another one. So there's times when you can use them together, and obviously they're 2 great players. They play well together, but they drag other people into the fight too when they're apart.
Kelly Moore, CGOB.
Hey, Dave. It was probably just another day at the office for Connor McDavid on Monday, but be curious was it maybe a little more feisty between he and Neil Pionk? I know they had a couple of exchanges. Neil was out there quite a bit against him. Is that an out of the norm type matchup, or is that basically what you see every night when Connor's playing?
No, you know what? I see that every night, and to me, one of the differences in Connor's game this year, he's engaging in that physical more. Like, he's defended harder this year. He's in more battles. He's he's around a lot of that contact a lot more this year, and he's embraced that and took that challenge, and I think his game has gone to another level.
Yeah, that was quite apparent. One other question for you, Dave. Alex Chason, when he has a night like he had the other night, and again, not seeing you guys play all the time, but he has shown at different points in his career that he's capable of that. What have you seen from him so far, and where can he take his game from here?
Well, I think what he is, he's a big guy. He's a good power play player, net front. He understands that role well. The thing about it, you can shoot the puck. Like, in practice, you watch him shoot, you think he should score more. And he's kind of a streaky scorer. I mentioned the other night after the game that Glenn Gullickson mentioned it. As soon as Chason gets one, it's amazing how many times if he seems like he finds another one in the game, and that's exactly what happened. So he's he's a good veteran player. He's a real pro. We've had him. He started in the lineup. He missed some games out of the lineup, but he's come back, and you're going to get a solid effort out of a real honest commitment to work and try to do what we're trying to do as a team. And when he finds some chances, he has the ability to score.
Jason Gregor, TSN 1260.
Dave, I know as a coach, you obviously don't want to exchange chances and have high-scoring games, but you and the Jets this year, every game's been high-scoring. Paul Maurice addressed it yesterday that just, some teams are, their systems match and styles match against one another. So do you try to battle more defensively against this team, or are there some games where you're just expecting that there's going to be more exchanging of chances?
No, you try to battle defensively every game. I mean, every game you go in with the same mindset. If you got to be strong defensively, whoever you play. But I think you got two teams, and especially at the forward position, both teams have some high-end players. That those guys make good plays. You can play great defense against them, and you're still gonna give up some chances. I mean, that's what real good offensive players do. And if you look at both these teams, they have high-end offensive players. So you're going to get some chances. Then it comes down to you got the goaltenders. If the goaltenders are both on their game, I remember we had one game last year in Winnipeg. I think it ended up 1-0 in a shootout or overtime or something. And both goaltenders were fantastic in the game. So you're going to get chances. Sometimes it depends on how well the goaltenders are playing, or how the chances, if they're really good and the good players capitalize on those chances, then you're going to get more goals.
And I apologize if I missed this earlier, but did you give us an update on Lagesson and how long you think he might be out?
He's still getting some treatments here today. He's day-to-day right now.
Thank you. This concludes David